So good morning. It's Wednesday, January 13th. Thank you for checking in again with me this morning. It's Wellness Wednesday. However, we have a little bit of a different topic, but it probably goes along with our mental wellness. Everything goes together, doesn't it, at some point? Good morning, Sarah. Good morning, Missy. First and foremost, before we get to that, let's do our daily pledge, okay? Today is a new day. I am ready to be the best me I can be. I will listen so I can learn. I will try hard so my brain can grow. I will not give up. I can learn anything I put my mind to. Today is a new day. It's a new opportunity to work on your goals, be your best self, and take care of you. Make sure that you get your things done. Make sure you are just really trying to capitalize on every moment of the day, especially today, because it's going to be so nice out. Every day we need to do our daily check-in. How are you feeling on a scale of 1 to 10? Again, this is a really great way for you just to continue to gauge how you're doing, what you're doing for yourself, what tools you need to be using. If you are up on the high of scale every day, good for you. That's awesome. I'm hoping that you're using that energy to make sure you're getting your appointments done or organizing or cleaning, making sure you're going to spend time with friends, whatever it may be. But if you wake up feeling not so good every day, that's a good indicator that you need to get out your toolbox or your tool bag, start working on the things that we've been talking about for the past 9 to 10 months here. Work on your tools. And furthermore, I'm sure you've learned a lot of tools along the way. We just have to use them. Don't forget about them. On the days that we feel worse, I know that we forget about our tools. We forget about our supports. But if you're doing a daily check-in, get up every day, check on yourself. Where are you at and what do you need to do to improve that day, okay? Like I said, yesterday we talked about toxic relationships, narcissism, things like that. Again, I am not done with that topic yet. So next week we're going to touch base more on that because I have lots of information and knowledge to share with you. Not only about how we're going to get out of those relationships, but red flags and warning signs, okay? So interestingly enough, I had a conversation with my 12-year-old last night. Her seventh grade health class is currently working on some mental health things and stress and just kind of things to look at. And they're talking about stinkin' thinking. I got this. And so by request, she had asked me to talk about negative bias. Now, negative bias can mean many different things. Sorry, I had an itch. I got distracted. Negative bias, it has many different names out there in the world. We'd call it disqualifying the positive, things like that, okay? But most importantly, it's kind of fun that they're talking about stinkin' thinking. And so we're going to talk a little bit more about that because ultimately, in anything we're doing in life, whether it's working on our relationships or we're trying to manage our stress or we're trying to be happy or to reduce our depression or to reduce our anxiety, our thinking has a huge impact on all of our recovery. Our thinking is the basis. It's the baseline for how we're going to work on our recovery, how we're going to feel better, and what we're going to do about it. So what better way than to continue to review it, talk about it, discuss it, and figure out ways to make it better, because the way you think is the way we feel is what we do, right? So thinking is number one. Okay, so I printed off this again. You probably can't see it, but we've talked about this, and we're going to go back through this. So what they're talking about is disqualifying the positive, discounting the good things that have happened or that you have done for some reason or another, okay? So what that means is you may have had something really good happen to you this morning, but the rest of the day was terrible, and all you remember is the negative things, okay? I was talking with a coworker this morning. Let's take COVID-19. Let's take pandemic. Let's take quarantine and stay-at-home orders, okay? This time has filled us with probably many negative things in our life, maybe multiple things that have caused us lots of stress and anxiety and problems. And this has been an uncertain time in our life that has caused us to really feel different inside. Maybe it's increased your anxiety or your depression. And so we can talk about all those negative things, but I can guess at this point you have also really started to realize some very amazing positive things in your life. For instance, spending more time with your family or really taking an opportunity to stay in the moment and enjoy your life or stop and smell the roses. I can guarantee you that if you look back over the last 9 to 10 months, you can find an extraordinary amount of positive things that have happened in your life, even though there's a big black cloud over it, okay? So that's what we're talking about. Disqualifying the positive. So all these negatives, you forget about all the good things. And so we want to change that. Okay, we want to acknowledge that we have a negative thought, but we want to back it up with a positive. Okay, we want to try and spin it. And it may be hard at first. It's difficult to do that, especially if you're really used to being pretty negative all the time. But the more you do it, the more you practice it, you will find yourself saying things like, "It was a terrible day, but at least I had an opportunity to get up and go to work and breathe and be happy," right? So you may say something, but then we're going to follow it up with a positive, okay? So disqualifying the positive, you have all these negatives and you leave out the positives, and we don't want to do that anymore. We want to say, okay, yep, this happened and this happened. I stubbed my toe. It was a bad day, but here are the good things that happened too, okay? One of the ways that you can continue to try and work on changing your negative thinking, get out your journal, okay? Write down the bad, but then you end your journal with a positive, okay? Many years ago, I had a young lady that came to my group, and she said one of the most impactful things for her mental health is that although she noticed that her journal was all negative, she always ended it with a positive. She always ended it with something she was grateful for. And no matter how hard it was, it really started to become a routine. It became something that she did. And so we have to get those negative thoughts out, but we also need to end it with a positive, okay? So that's a little bit of disqualifying the positive, okay? You may have had a rotten day at school or at work, but there was always something good about it. And we need to strive to find that, to pick that out, because there's always something good in life. I can promise you that. Even if it's just this itty bitty little positive thought, there's always something good, okay? So that's disqualifying the positive. All or nothing thinking. It's your way or the highway. There's no gray area. It's black or white. Today was bad, therefore it was bad. What if something good happened in the day? Okay, so all or nothing thinking, it's black and white. It's this way or it's that way. We got to be able to find the silver lining. We have to be able to kind of take a step back, reevaluate the situation and say, okay, it probably wasn't really that bad, right? Or it may have been a bad day, but here's what I learned out of the day. Remember, we're talking about a new year and a new you. And so every opportunity, every failure, every bad thing, every negative thing, it's an opportunity for us to learn and grow. So if we take our all or nothing thinking and we can learn to take a step back, kind of reassess the situation, process it a little bit, and change our mindset to say, okay, now it may have been a horrible week, but look at all the things I got done. Or you know what? My anxiety wasn't so bad this week. So let's take a step back, process, assess the situation, whatever it may be that you need to do to kind of wrap your head around, and then follow it up with something good. Okay? At least one thing. It doesn't have to be a whole list of positives, but if we can start to find a middle ground and that silver lining and everything, it's going to change the way we feel and what we do. So again, that cycle, and I got to find it. Here it is, right on top. The way we think is the way we feel and how we do things. So this stinking thinking is so important. Change how you think. It's going to make this whole circle so much better. And before you know it, you're productive and you're active and you're going and you're doing and you're feeling better. And maybe your depression is getting less. You're experiencing less anxiety and you're just feeling happier inside, okay? Overgeneralizing, seeing a pattern based upon a single event or being overly broad in a conclusion we draw. So for instance, if you had a bad experience somewhere, you're going to okay, you had a bad cheeseburger at McDonald's. All McDonald's are terrible. Okay, that's a very poor example, but it's the same. It's just the concept of if you have a bad experience somewhere, you automatically lump them into a category of bad without ever exploring anything else around you. Okay, for instance, maybe you're trying to work on, maybe you're new to trying to manage your mental health, okay? Maybe recovery is new to you and everybody keeps telling you about coping skills, right? And how you need to use them. Let's say you use 2 coping skills and they didn't help. So you're going to tell yourself, this coping skills baloney is not worth my time. It doesn't work. I'm never going to feel better. It's useless. It's helpless. Okay. That's overgeneralizing. Because you use 2 coping skills does not mean that coping skills is not useful to your mental health. Okay, so you have to continue to try and spin your thinking. Try different things. You know, everybody talks about deep breathing. Well, that may work for a million other people, but it may not work for you. It doesn't mean that we put coping skills in a box that says coping skills, bad. They don't work. Don't use them. That's not okay. We have to change that thinking because coping skills is the only way we're ever going to get to feeling better. Okay, we have to learn to cope with every aspect of life. Mental filtering. Only paying attention to certain types of evidence, okay? If you say that coping skills don't work because you tried deep breathing and it was terrible and it made you feel worse and that's it, well, that's because you're only paying attention to certain types of evidence. Or on Monday, you practiced coping skills all day long and you didn't feel any better. Well, maybe it's because only a certain amount didn't work. Maybe you had lots of other things going on. Maybe it was a stressful day. But because you're only paying attention to the fact that you were going to practice coping skills, you didn't take into account anything else around you, okay? So that's mental filter. We're just shutting out everything else around us and focusing on one thing, and we're making that bad. That can be kind of detrimental to your mental health because ultimately you are disqualifying the positive, right? So see how these all work together? I apologize. Magnificent catastrophizing. I'm really good at this in case you were wondering. If you have a bad day or a bad moment and you blow it out of the water, you take a mountain, you take a molehill and you make it a mountain. Some of us react poorly to things and we catastrophize. And after we've catastrophized, we kind of like settle back down, we process and analyze. We need to prevent that whole like explosion thing, okay? We need to learn to take stressful situations and moments and take a step back before we react, okay? So you maybe you got a new bill in the mail that you didn't anticipate and you don't have the money for it. Should we overreact and freak out and catastrophize and say, I'm going to be broke, I'm going to lose my apartment, I'm not going to be able to afford food? That's what happens. We start to spiral down, okay? We need to learn to address the fact that we're stressed and that this is an interesting situation that we've been put in. However, we need to problem solve. Maybe we need to reach out to our supports and we need to take a good look at what that situation is and what we can do to solve that, okay? Now, that's an imperfect world. I get it. I'm preaching to the choir. I need to learn to do these things myself. But again, it's just a good reminder. Take a step back. Okay, this is happening. This is bad. I feel bad about this, but we could solve this. We just need to take a minute to think, okay? Okay, so we're going to come back to that. I'm going to run out of time, but I like some of those. So we're going to keep talking about Stinkin Thinkin, but I like this. I thought this was super cute, okay? This is a good way to, I'm always about visual aids and ways we can change our thinking and how we're going to learn and how we're going to make it stick up here. We need tools, right? So this little guy, he's talking about ways to change our thinking, okay? And he's fishing. I think it's cute. This is the 3 C's. We're going to catch it, we're going to check it, or we're going to change it. Isn't that cute? I love it. This is a great tool to use, and so I wanted to make sure that I got to this before we ended today. You're going to catch that thought. You're going to check it. You're going to analyze any evidence that comes with it, and then you're going to change it, okay? If I tell you that Wednesdays are awful, Wednesdays are they just suck all the time, and nothing good ever happens on a Wednesday, I need to catch that thought, and I need to check it. Where's my evidence that supports the fact that Wednesdays are awful? I don't know, maybe you had something bad happen to you 2 Wednesdays in a row, so you're making that assumption and you're going to overgeneralize that Wednesdays are bad, but we need to change that thought. I may have had some bad Wednesdays in the past, but today is a new day and we need to cherish this day and we need to make it a better day, and we're going to work all that much harder to make sure that we put all the good things in our Wednesdays as we can, okay? And that's kind of a lame example, but we're going to catch it, we're going to check it, or we're going to change it. Isn't that a great thing to stick in your brain? Get out your index cards, write that down, and put it in your toolbox, okay? That is something you should carry with you. Catch that thought, we're going to check that thought, and we're going to change it. We're going to find the evidence that we need to support that. More often than not, I can promise you, you are not going to find all the evidence that you need to support your negative thought, okay? You're going to step back and you're going to go, oh, well, I guess maybe that's not so bad after all. So get out your Post-it note. Get out your Post-it notes, your index cards, and write that down. You're going to catch it. You're going to check it, and you're going to change it. The 3 C's of changing our negative thinking. I think that is brilliant. I love it, and I'm going to start sharing this with people. I don't know why I never thought of this before, but it's funny how sometimes our coping skills can be the simplest ones ever. It just takes some time to kind of find it, and then you go, that's great. I'm going to use that. So that's your challenge for today. You have your stinking thinking. Every time a negative thought comes into your head, think of the fish hook Okay? You're going to cast out there, you're going to catch it, you're going to check it, and you're going to change it. And we're going to change our negative thinking, because if we can feel better, think better, we're going to feel better, and we're going to do more, and we're going to do better. Okay? Isn't that great? What great topics this week. Thank you for those that have reached out and asked me to talk about some things. I love it. I have found so many great resources this week, and I just want to continue to share them with you. So again, negative thoughts, you're going to cast out, you're going to catch it, you're going to check it, and you're going to change it. Because the better we think, the better we feel, and the more we do. Isn't that what it's all about? We're going to be happy. We're going to capitalize on our day. It's going to be almost 40 degrees today. Thank you for joining me this week. I hope that you learned some new coping skills. I hope that you filled up your toolbox. We have more next week. And again, we're going to go back to toxic relationships. I'm not done talking about that yet. But I just hope that you guys have an amazing rest of your week and a good weekend. Enjoy the days while you have it. Make the most of it. Find ways to stay happy. Change your thinking and be responsible. Take care of yourself and have a good week.